The Eastern Cape Social Development Department has deposited 1,500 rand into thousands of bank cards, that is. It's to avoid losing 122 million rand to National Treasury after failing to spend 86% of its 164 million rand in COVID-19 social relief distress during the current financial year. For more on the story, we're joined by the Eastern Cape Social Development MEC, Sipokazi Lusiti. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight, Ms. Lusiti. Firstly, just tell us about this project. What exactly is happening with this 122 million rand?
Okay. Firstly, Kathy, there is no 122,000. There is no 1,500 that were deposited into bank accounts. What is there in the department is the Social Relief of Distress program. I think many viewers would know it because it comes usually in the form of food parcels. Now, after last year in August, as a department, we went back and revised the form in which we deliver this social relief of distress, because this food parcel, at times we got incidences where beneficiaries were receiving old meal, old tin stuff that were of poor quality. And because the larger budget of what was allocated for this program was used in the process by the service provider, by inflated prices. As a result, almost 2/4 of the amount would be spent in the administrative cost, and only a fraction of it will be used to buy the actual food stuff. So as a department, we went on to use bank vouchers or bank cards. We approached commercial banks so that as a department, we can transfer money directly to those deserving households. In that way, we will reach a larger number of these households. So last year in August, after the Provincial Treasury had allocated an additional funding on the request of the department of 66 million rands, and also the National Treasury allocating 78. We then approached commercial banks, went back to Provincial Treasury to receive confirmation of the process, because this would significantly reduce costs. It would ensure that households have a choice on what is an essential good for each household. Now, that process went on and the SLAs were eventually signed, and we started the process of distributing these cards through the what they call zero cost, zero bank charges cards. Now, these bank cards have absolutely no cost to the department, no cost to the beneficiary, can be used to swipe at food outlets all over the province, because that bank has a footprint all over the province. Now, in the process of distributing these cards, then the service provider, which was the bank in this instance, came back to the department to say they will not completely they will not complete the distribution of these cards by the 31st of March. Then this prompted us to go back to the Provincial Treasury and request a rollover of this amount, so that we can be able to complete the intended purpose in the next financial year. So in the first month of the financial year, because in this instance you have beneficiaries that have been assessed by social workers that whose households there were visits, they were confirmed to be deserving of this social relief of distress. And an intention was given, and they were promised that they will receive this social relief of distress. And now you can't take away that promise on the basis that the service provider is unable to complete the process on the stimulated time. So we're working with the Provincial Treasury to ensure that the department receives a rollover of whatever amount that has not been used to allow the service provider to complete the process.
So effectively, it is 144 million rand that you ended up with in this particular, or allocated towards for this particular project from August, if I'm hearing you correctly. It's 7 months later, and this money is only being distributed now. Plans are only being made or being effected now. Why is that?
No, Kathy. I'm saying in August, we started working at trying to find a new way of delivering the service in a manner that will bring dignity. The last amount, which is the 78 million, only came to the department in December of 2020. Now, now in August, we started putting plans in place and requesting these additional funds. And this amount came in. And when we remember, this is something that is completely new in government. It was going to start in the country with the Eastern Cape. And we're working with the National DSD to use this as a pilot of rolling it out to other provinces, because it was something that was going to bring a completely new dimension. So it was the first time that we were doing this. And hence, we are also very understanding of the appointed service provider, which is the bank in this instance, in terms of them not being able to complete the full distribution to all identified and assessed beneficiaries.
What was the criteria? What was the criteria that was used to determine who is deserving of this money and who isn't, keeping in mind that the Eastern Cape was not exempt from examples of ward councillors who were distributing food parcels to people that were effectively beholden to them, were friends of theirs, were family members of theirs, and deserving people were left out of the distributions of some of these food parcels?
Part of why we came with this approach, Kathy, was exactly to run away from some of the weaknesses in the distribution of these food parcels. But the program is meant as a temporary provision of assistance, which is intended for person in such a dire material need that they're unable to meet their family's most basic needs. Now, these are families that are suffering and that are in distress because of a sudden loss of jobs, because of disasters. We know the province is prone to disasters in some municipalities. Now, when we receive such an incident through our community development workers, through our social workers, through our social partners who refer cases to the department, a social worker is attached to the home and appointed to go and visit the family on numerous occasions.
So how many families are you hoping to reach through this program right now?
89,000, more than 89,000 households are going to benefit from only the 144, with 750 per family. Now, this is such a great difference to the program before, because this ensures that all of that 144 million goes directly to households to buy food, unlike before, whereas a huge percentage of that budget would otherwise have gone to administrative costs and to service providers and suffer from cost inflation.
What is the vetting process? And perhaps speak to me about the controls of this vetting process to ensure that this money and these cards are not going to end up in the wrong hands. Because again, we've just come out of a story of the Auditor General speaking about how irregular spending in the Eastern Cape is the worst in the country.
Okay. Kathy, in this process, the department has a system already in place, working with SASSA, that is using South African Revenue Services, using Home Affairs to determine whether a household receives any income, and if that income is received, how much is that income. Then we use that system together with the profiling that is done by social workers, qualified social workers of the department, to determine the affordability of that household. Now, when working now with the service provider, there is a physical verification of that of the intended beneficiary. They must come, they must have their IDs, they must come in person. But secondly is that these cards are used in food retail outlets to ensure that, for instance, that we don't have people using them to buy at liquor outlets or to buy at clothing shops, because they are solely made, these funds are solely made available to buy food and for the sustainability of a household. Now, This is a program that has been going on in the department, and the assessment is still the same. The only place where there is a difference is how do we deliver now this package to the beneficiary, because ordinarily we would call 50 beneficiaries to one hall, each to come fetch their food parcels, that depriving them a choice of deciding whether what brand of Millie Meal I want to buy. Do I need milk or do I need Pilchard, for instance? Now, in this instance, we are giving them to choose what is essential to each household, but also giving them dignity that they don't have to be driving wheelbarrows from the city hall back to their household. And also, the quality of the food is better guaranteed because it is the beneficiary that decides which food outlet they are going to acquire these from.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there for tonight. The Eastern Cape's MEC for Social Development, and that was Sipokazi Lusiti, certainly a project that we'll keep a close eye on.